Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter for boxing-related tweets. Let's talk about Terence Crawford and his victory over Kell Brook. Really high-level stuff that we saw on display from both guys. Early on, Kell Brook looked really good. His timing, his distance control, the jab looked beautiful. There was a moment early in the fight where Crawford came in as a southpaw too, and Brook dealt with it pretty comfortably. Went back to orthodox, looked fine. The second time he switched again and he went back to southpaw. He started to up the tempo more, and at that point I knew, okay, here we go now. Now the war's going to start, and this was the territory where I thought that it was possible for Brook to have a lot of success, but he would have had to have been in a position where he could hold the shot. And what we saw, unfortunately, is Kell Brook get hurt by a sort of shot that you wouldn't expect him to get hurt by. It was a lovely jab. Like I've said in the past, I've used the analogy of a pad in the past. When you move on to a shot, how it magnifies the power of the shot. I've spoken about this on many occasions. If you've got a floppy pad and someone hits your hand, and your hand just goes away, the impact is not going to be the same as if you hold your hand solid, and it's even going to be even more explosive if you move into the shot. So as Brook tries to step into the jab, he comes over the top with a short lead jab and lands it, and it's a solid shot. But from that sort of distance, that short range, when it's landing on the eye, it's not really the sort of shot that it should have had the effect that it did have. Consider some of the shots that he's taken at the hands of Golovkin, at the hands of Errol Spence in the past, at the hands of Sean Porter. Carson Jones landed some big shots on him. That little shot, he's not chinny, Kell Brook. That, although it was a stiff shot, it's not enough to have that effect. So it would be fair to say that it was quite clear that perhaps signs of aging, a reduction in punch resistance played a part. But in terms of the fight itself, we saw high-level stuff from both guys. The jab of Kell Brook was on point. He was his timing, his distance control, and it was interesting because post-fight, the two interviews I thought were sensational, both of them. Firstly, we'll start off with Kell Brook since we're on the topic. He spoke about, and this was what was so interesting, he spoke about how Crawford had a brilliant ability to be able to take away your willingness to throw punches. It made him unwilling to unleash the sorts of shots he wanted to unleash, because Terence Crawford was always sort of just outside of range. And one thing that Kell Brook is very good at is his timing and finding that range. And Crawford also spoke about Brook being very good at that. Crawford said, I couldn't get my shots off because of his timing. And that lets you know, when both guys are talking about timing and distance, they both mentioned timing and distance, you know that this was a very high-level chess playing match. Kell Brook, like I've said before, to me this reinforces the fact that in terms of boxing ability, he's elite. I've always felt this. He's an elite boxer. After 3 rounds, I had him 2-1 up. The third round was the one I gave to Crawford, and even that was a close round. I think he landed a couple of flush shots though, and one of the things he started to have success with was that looping hook, and it started to really find the target, and that's what edged it for me that round to him. So I had it 2 rounds to 1 to Brook, and it was obviously a very competitive fight between two elite level operators. But what you then saw with Crawford as well, when he ups the tempo, this is what makes the guy so good. He upped the tempo and went from a straight up boxing match. Initially, Kell took the center of the ring, to Crawford slowly edging himself into taking the center of the ring, to start to apply that foot pressure. And then he could adjust and start engaging in a war. And it's that ability to adjust, that ability to say, right, plan A isn't working, let's quickly go to plan B. That's something that Lomachenko didn't do against Lopez until it was way too late. First 5 or 6 rounds, he was too slow. He then went to plan B, and he had a lot of success in the latter part of the fight. Now, was that because Lopez tired? Maybe that played a role. He wasn't as fresh. But I also think, like I said, he didn't take enough of a risk on a percentage factor. There wasn't enough of a risk early on, and then he started to take too much of a risk almost. He should have started to up the risk slowly. We saw that from Crawford. Round 1 didn't go well. He tried to up it a bit in round 2. It still didn't go well. He adjusted in round 3. It was still close. He continued to adjust, increase the level of pressure, increase the percentage of risk he's taking. And then in the end, he got the stoppage. And that's what makes the guy an elite level operator. The other thing I loved about the post-fight interview, Errol Spence, he was asked about Errol Spence stopped him in 11 rounds. You stopped him in 4. Is there anything to pick up from that? It would have been so easy for him to say, listen, same opponent. I did a number on him. It took Errol Spence all that time. He was losing the fight and, he broke his orbital bone and stuff like that. And that was an injury. This wasn't an injury. This was a straight up, TKO where he was about to be knocked out. He didn't say any of that. What he said is, look, it's hard to compare because there were different styles, different nights, different years. In other words, he's telling you himself, Kell Brook's a top level talent, he said, but he is at a point in his career now. It's not the same thing. You can't directly compare. There was no cheap shot against Errol Spence. And this is how you know this guy believes in himself. This is how you know he's top quality. He doesn't need cheap shots or cheap scoring. Lomachenko did something similar when he was asked about Rigondeaux. It would have been easy for him to say, pound for pound. Everyone was saying he was pound for pound and I schooled him. He didn't say that. What did Lomachenko come out and say? Lomachenko came out and said, listen, he was too small. Came out and said it. He didn't sit there and try and take all the glory. And that's how you know these top level fighters, they've got that to them. When Golovkin hurt Matthew Macklin at one point, Macklin sort of panicked at one point and slipped and he sort of pointed at his feet. Golovkin took a step back. He let him regroup. Then he went back after him. In other words, and it reminded me of the movie Troy, where Hector trips over a stone when he's fighting Achilles, and Achilles doesn't kill him. He steps back and he says, "I will not let a stone take my glory, Hector," or something like that. In other words, get up. I'm going to beat you properly, fairly. And this is what these high level operators have. There's a part of them, they've got killer instinct, but there's a part of them that's saying, I'm so superior. I don't need these cheap shots. I don't need a lucky way out. I don't need to sit there and try and manipulate the masses into believing that I destroyed a prime Kell Brook and Errol Spence couldn't do it in the same amount of time. No, what he's saying is he's a top level fighter. He was tough to adjust to. I dealt with it, took him out. I was the better man on the night. And now I want Pacquiao. Now I want Errol Spence. Line him up, basically. And this is a top level operator, a class act in the way he conducts himself. I'm such a fan, honestly. Bob Arum was talking more trash than Terence Crawford was talking. And that tells you all you need to know about the sort of character that he is. There's a confidence there. And when he was asked about when he would fight Pacquiao, when he would fight Errol Spence, he gave this wry smile and looked straight away at Bob Arum as if to say, listen, that's on him. I want to fight him. I want them all. Let me know what you think of the fight, guys. How do you think it went? How would the fight have gone 5 years ago? Because it was shaping up to be really, really good. And if Kell Brook had the punch resistance he had at the time when he fought someone like Golovkin, how would that fight have gone? The fight went in the pattern that I expected from the preview video. I thought it might be a little bit more frenetic early on. They were a little bit sort of more standoffish. I thought Brook would take a few more risks, but he was winning the fight early. Then the increased tempo, and eventually it got to him. But I don't think he got to him because he was worn down. It was, out of the blue, a shot. Would that shot have affected him in his prime? I don't think it would have. And then if it doesn't, then you've got a great fight going down the stretch. So let me know what you think. How do you think this fight would have turned out 5 years ago? How do you think Crawford fares against Pacquiao, against Errol Spence? Let me know. And where does Brook go from here? Thanks for watching. I'm about to bring you another video discussing Franco Maloney. A farce there. Take care and God bless.